This is a Two Front podcast.
You got a crooked smile, well that don't bother me much. You double overworking, double time, you double tough. I'll just shine it up until the sun hit like a glare. I gotta dare, get the fuck up out the chair.
Welcome back to the Happy Dentist podcast. Today, I'm excited to have my friend Katie Toe on. I have known about Katie for a long time. We met a few years ago in person, and I think she's doing some really cool stuff, especially in the wellness space. Now, people think people think wellness, and they talk about me and they think, oh, wellness for the practitioner. And what Katie's also doing is wellness for the patient too. So I really focus on the practitioner. Katie focuses on really, I think, both. So Katie, welcome to the podcast.
It's my huge honor. Thank you for having me on the show.
How did you get into this topic of wellness?
I fell into it, really. Actually, I was really sick back in 2018. Practice was going great. I had my first child, a couple years before that. Life was great. And then your body telling you, no, you're not great. A lot of dentists thinking like, oh, life is so good. And then the body telling them totally opposite. And that's exactly what
Surprise.
I mean. Yes. So I had to really digging deep to see what's wrong because most of my doctor and specialists I'm seeing at that time said that your blood work looked great. You're fine. You're just stressed. You're just a business owner, entrepreneur, dentist. And they really discount my symptoms. But deep down
What
inside,
were
I
your
know
symptoms?
my symptom was something, like a lot of people have, like brain fog, fatigue. And the worst one, believe it or not, was the dandruff. Like I went to my friend who's also a really well-known dermatologist locally, and she said, "Oh, don't worry, I give you prescriptions. Like 2 weeks, you'll be fine. 2 months." And I'm like, this is not normal. And then my skin started have rash, and I could not sleep at night. And so you seeing patients and your team seeing you suffering, and you still had to put on right your provider face, like, "Oh, I'm confident, I'm here for you," and then inside you just like, "I'm not me," right?
Yeah.
So when my patient saw me with my swollen face and with my rashes, and he said, "My wife had that, and she saw a functional doctor. You should see the same doctor." I'm like, "Oh my God, my patient, the one that told me," and all my doctor was like, "You're fine." And
Did you
so
pay that patient for an exam?
he's
You
still a
pay him
patient.
for that one.
He actually was on my podcast recently,
Oh,
talking
cool.
his own healing journey. And then I went to that doctor, and the first thing I was surprised is like her exam was 2 hours.
Wow.
In most of my doctor visit was a 5-10 minute in and out, prescriptions, right? Bye, see ya. And you're kind of hanging because you don't see the improvement. And so it was 2 hours, was asking about how I was born, what kind of food. I talked to a nutritionist for another hour. I mean, it's really, really detailed visit. And then they order a bunch of lab work, blood, urine, and later on my diagnosis was heavy metal toxicity, which is my husband was like, "Oh, I think you got scammed. I think you got a quack there. Go look for a dentist." And looking for different provider, different doctor. And I went. So we went for a second opinion, same diagnosis, and then third opinion. And I said, "Okay, I think we need to stop denial of the diagnosis. We need to look into this and be curious versus, calling it quack because we never seen it before."
Yeah.
It's funny that people accepting cancer diagnosis quicker and easier than heavy metal, diagnosis because they never seen it, or they don't know that many people that have it. And so that's when they give me two options: quit dentistry because dentistry make me really sick, or I had to practice differently. And that's when I choose to practice differently and protect myself and my patient and my team from exposure of heavy metal toxicity. We know amalgam in dentistry is not toxic for everybody. It's dependent on your genetic, but we know it's toxic to begin with, right? Nobody play with mercury anymore with the bare hand. And so So many countries in the world ban mercury in dentistry practice. It's not good for the environment, for the people. And so that's when I started a journey. And is when you start the journey, you can stop because you start figure out, oh, there's more toxicity in dentistry. There's more
So
things.
was it for you, I don't know if you know the answer or not, was it amalgams? Is that what you think it was?
That's the only reason. That's the only way because I
Were
actually
you doing many amalgams at the time?
removing them. I didn't place
Oh, I
any.
see.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Okay.
wow.
graduated in handful. We did not place amalgam. We did have to do amalgam for graduation and licensing exam,
Yeah.
but when we come out to practice, we didn't have to place any.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted composite, but
Right.
then we remove a lot for buildup, for crown, right, for fracture teeth, and cutting it out is when I had the most exposure
Yeah.
because they really testing down to is the mercury coming from amalgam or the mercury coming from fish.
How many amalgams were you taking out, a month on average, would you say?
By the time I got my diagnosis, it's been 8 years. And on average, you would see what, 5, 7 patients and maybe do restorative on average, maybe 100 teeth a month, right? And so a lot of the teeth that have amalgam, the one that have problems. So I would say a lot of them because I remember when home from work, my mom was like, your face like sparkle. That's the particle from the amalgam when you're cutting out. It's like flying all over the place, right? It's
Wow.
Wow.
getting into mirror, it's getting into patient mouth. And I end up having it on my face and the mask that we have, level 1, 2, or 3, doesn't really protect you from that particles.
So once you made this change, I'm feeling like you had this like Morpheus pill, right? You can go this way, you can take the red pill, you can take the blue pill. And you chose to take the red pill and go down this road of wellness first to
Right.
fix yourself. And
Mhm.
how did you start applying that for your patients?
Yes, when I went down the road and they told me about nutrition, told me about hydration, told me about all these practices because they basically said there's no medication for this besides your body had to detox it out. At first they tried to detox me and I got reaction really bad. And then they were like, oh, genetically, you are not detoxed very well. You have MTHFR, COMT, all this DAO, all this genetic marker that critical in methylation and detox. And then I said, okay, then what can I do? And so when I start seeing patients in my practice and look at their medical histories again in a different light, instead of look at medical history and see what can I avoid, what do I have to do to see this patient? They have hypopressure. What do I have to do? Versus that, I look at the patient and it's like, okay, they already come with autoimmune. What can I do to make sure that their condition doesn't get worse? And so the material we use and the question we ask, and especially the way we implement what I went through with nutrition, hydration, meditation, anything that affecting our body, outside the dental office. Like dentists usually don't understand that in dental school. We just kind of look at medical history so we can see the patient, ASA 1, 2, 3, versus say, oh, wow, the patient allergic to banana. Is anything else you're allergic to? Do I have to do biocompatibility testing for the patient before I put in that composite? Because, people compatible to banana doesn't mean, or they're not compatible to banana doesn't mean they not compatible to everything else. So went through my journey, kind of start questioning and look at that differently and start relating to patient differently.
So is your practice fee for service?
Have to. I was not when I start the journey of the wellness dentistry. In the demand and the time and all the knowledge that I have to. I took a lot more medical CE than dental CE these and connecting with all the functional MDs and DOs and Ally Health because we need a whole village to treat these patients.
Yeah, because I think, we have doctors from all over the world that listen to this, and, many of them are your kind of like my dad's practice, which was like fair prices. If they're in the US, maybe they're insurance-based, they
Mhm.
do good work, um, and I think a lot of them have this feeling of like, "Well, I don't know if my patients even want that." My patients wanna come in, They want to get a filling, they want to get a crown, they want to leave. How would you respond to that?
How do you know they don't want it? Because you never ask the
Mhm.
questions. When I convert in 2018, the patients that actually, stay and went through the transition with me is all my existing patients. They already like me. They already trust me. They saw my face. They see they know my story. And when you said, okay, now I didn't know before, now I know mercury and heavy metals are bad, we stop removing it the way we remove it with just a mask and nothing to protect you. And so they believe you, they trust you. So your existing patient actually the one that easiest to, I would say, introduce wellness dentistry to. And then people talk about the way you practice. The medical provider talk about you, the patient talk about you. So our practice spent $0 on marketing ever since we opened, ever since we transitioned. And before I got my partner associate, I have 5-month wait list for patients to get in. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
It's not something to be proud because if you have a condition and you need to get in, I mean,
Right, right.
wrong.
It's another problem.
So
Yeah.
now we cut down the wait time to be about 8 weeks. 6
Wow.
to
I
8
mean,
weeks.
that's crazy.
Katie, so I just wanted to recap. So you went through your own functional health journey, which by the way, I did too 5 years ago, just moving out to LA, where lots of my friends were functional health doctors. I came from New York, where like that's not a thing. Like no one knows what functional health is. And you then took that and you integrated it into your practice. I just want to understand for our listeners, what does that look like? What does it look to integrate functional health into your dental exam?
Yes. So the few key thing is we don't see patients unless they have a medical provider. If they don't have one, they need to.
You know that sinking feeling when the same patient keeps coming back for crown after crown? Yeah, we've all been there. Here's the thing. What if we could actually prevent all that mess with a simple bite correction? That's where we come in at Two Front. We handle the whole Invisalign process for you. I'm talking zero ClinChecks, zero lab bills, barely any chair time. Oh, and we take on the liability too. Your patient gets a healthy bite that'll save them thousands down the road. You get to be the hero who prevented years of dental drama. It's honestly a no-brainer. Check out Two Front and start helping your patients dodge a lifetime of dental work today.
Start getting one because we as a dentist tend to think we can take care of all the cases and we compartmentalize them out separate from the body. I can do that crown, I can do that implant, I can do that full arch, but not knowing when the last time patients see a doctor, what their blood work look like. So number one criteria for us when we implement this is a medical dental team effort. So we ask the patient who's their medical provider. It doesn't have to be a functional, but we reach out to them and let them know we see the patient. We acting like a specialist. We're an oral physician. Most physician doesn't know anything about the mouth. They would know the tooth number. They probably have a few hours of oral education or like dental educations.
Yeah, some of my friends told me it was half a day. It was like an afternoon. Yeah.
And it's so much to cover. We did it in 4 years and more residency for specialists, right? So, and we asking for basically send them a letter and telling them what we see in the patient, what we're going to plan to do and what we need moving forward from them. And we asking for a copy of blood work. We do look at the patient blood work especially before we're doing surgery. And then that way, doctor was aware that, oh, I didn't know patient had that in the mouth. And so the way that we integrate it, we want to make sure the patients have their medical doctor and the dentist talking to each other. And we also make sure the patient take responsibility in terms of their own health. The reason they blame the dentist for something that not working is because they think you fix everything. Oh, you put that crown come off. I mean, how about your sleep apnea? How about your acid reflux? How about your nutrition? So in our practice, in order for the patient to be accepted, they had to take the ownership of their health. We are their partner, we are their guide, but we're not the hero of this journey. So we
That
ask
is
that
such
from
an important topic for dentists to hear because we take on all of our patients' problems, right? And I know so many dentists, and I've created full courses on this because I want to help dentists with this because I was horrible at this, was we take on everybody else's problems and they have no ownership of what they come in with or their habits or their nutrition. And it all comes back to us. So I'm so glad that you're saying that. I want to ask, I want to dive in on what you said. You said that they must have a medical doctor and they must have blood work. So in order for them to have an initial exam with you, someone calls, hi, I want to see Dr. Toe. Uh, okay, who's your medical provider? Oh, I don't have one. So what do you guys do? You say, okay, well then we'd like to recommend some, or this is who we recommend. You send them to your medical providers, and then they have to get blood work done before you see them for your first exam?
No, we actually asking, first of all, we average get about a few hundred phone call a month, and we can only see about 20 to 22 new patients a month. And
Wow.
so the phone call screening is try to get a match for them, what they're looking for. So at beginning, I see any patient that really looking for, say, stick mercury removal, right? That's what I started with the first procedure. And now we're seeing a lot more medical patients like cancer patient, Alzheimer patients, and autoimmune patient. So first of all, we want to know, is anything we can help them with? Because a lot of patient was like, oh, I'm in the area. I just saw that you have amazing review and you was refer. Uh, we really want to make sure that we save the time for the patient that the right fit. So if they said, hey, I was recommended or referred by another patient of yours, and I want to address my autoimmune issues, I have a lot of metal in my mouth, a lot of infections in my gum, great. Who's your medical doctor? And they may say, oh, yeah, but I don't see that doctor. I want to see a functional. And then we giving them recommendations of the functional doctor we work with. We're usually giving them 3 recommendation, one that in network with medical insurance so they can have options there. And then majority of them also out of network, fee for some medical office. So they can go ahead and establish care there. If we know they are right fit for our practice, we still make an appointment for a new patient. But they, by the time they go to their visit, because they wait about 6 to 8 weeks, they already have the medical appointment already set up, and they should have their blood work done or plan to get it done. We can see them for the exam, but doesn't mean any treatment will be performed until we see the blood work.
Yes. So what are you looking for on their blood work? I think that there's a lot of dentists listening to this that would maybe like to get started with this, but like, what are you looking for? I mean, we weren't taught this in dental school. So give me some facts or give me some ideas of what you're looking at in blood work that would relate to the mouth.
Yes, for sure. So we looking at inflammation marker is number one because someone can walk into your office, look really healthy, and they could be, their inflammation marker will be off the chart, and then you touching them, and they having, say, a heart attack, and now
Mm.
they blame you for cleaning the patient, and
Mhm.
actually you are trying to help them, right? And so inflammation marker, we make it really simple. We're looking for CRP and homocysteine. And
Okay.
you'll be surprised a lot of patients fire their primary care doctor because they don't even check for those.
Yeah.
Why? Because insurance doesn't pay for that. Not all insurance and
Mhm.
not all the blood tests. So inflammation marker, we're asking for that. It's very crucial because it's going to dictate the frequency of a patient periodontal maintenance and hygiene. Because in our office, we do saliva testing on every single patient. So you go to the
Amazing.
medical doctor, you get
Blood.
blood done. You
Yeah.
go to the dentist, you're gonna get your saliva tested.
Yeah.
So we send all the testing results to the medical doctor office so they know, oh wow, my patient actually very, very sick based on what the pathogen they see on there and how active they are. And so we look at inflammation marker, that CRP, homocysteine. We're also looking at vitamin D level. Um, because a lot of dentists are waiting for the implant to fail and they, oops, my patient have vitamin D of 9, right? They won't be able to build bone and the immune system. So we look at vitamin D level. We're also looking at the B level, and B level doesn't get tested. It's just especially
Yeah, B is an interesting one too for dentistry. I was just looking this up the other day, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but vitamin B can be one of the reasons why people have the corners of their mouth that they have, why can't I think of what it's called?
that's me too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, cheilitis, angular
Yeah.
cheilitis
Mm-hmm.
could be related to vitamin B, right?
Mm-hmm.
So interesting, some of these things. And, usually, like for that example, we see people that have angular colitis, especially on older patients, and we're like, oh, their denture is too ground down, right? We need to open their vertical or something because it's just the folds of their mouth are folded over. I mean, but the more data you have, the more information you have.
This
And
role.
I think that's what's so nice about what you're doing is that so much that we've done in dentistry has been come in, we collect our little dental data, right? Probing depths, we take impressions, maybe take photos, whatever. But now you're adding in blood work, saliva testing, a vitamin profile. And then you have that starting point. And then
Mhm.
you can look every, I don't know what your interval is, but let's say every year, every 2 years, every 5 years, whatever it is. And then say, oh, wow, look at how this has changed. This has gotten better. This has gotten worse. And then we can have positive or negative feedback on what we do. And I think so many times as dentists, because we work in these silos where it's like one dentist and we only see our own work. And so we can only learn from that without having positive or negative feedback. This is how you get dentists that are not great because they don't have any feedback. And I see this all the time as the clinical director of a laboratory is I see these impressions that they take and I'm like, this is what you sent? Like, I have no idea where the margin is. Zero. But they never got any feedback. No one's ever giving them feedback. So they think that's acceptable. So I love that idea of having data.
Yeah, it's ironic because we were just talking about it this weekend. We were talking about how much, Katie, just for reference, we were talking about, I mean, pretty much exactly what you're doing, how much better dentistry would be for both dentists and the patients if we just quantified more, if we just made it a lot more objective and easier on the dentist to deliver bad news. As one of, our dentist partners was telling me also this weekend that it's hard for dentists to deliver bad news and it's less objective a lot of the times. And so what you're doing, besides opening up the array of what you can show the patients what's possible, you're making it quantifiable, which is super cool.
Thank you.
How does that relate to case acceptance for you?
Wow. Our case acceptance is about like when can I start, especially with perio, because
And
we
that's
have
crazy because patients are like, perio, like a deep clean. Like, I just want the regular cleaning. What are you talking about, right?
yes.
Yeah,
When you
expand on
connect
that for us.
when you connect the mouth to the rest of the body, especially we have a microscope, not just the regular microscope, but not the surgical microscope, but the phase contrast microscope. So every patient in our practice will see their saliva on that phase contrast microscope. So you have saliva testing where you spit into the tube and then send it out to the lab, but you also take a sample of the saliva and put it in on the slide, cover it, and put it on a microscope in front of them, and they will start seeing bugs swimming. They will start seeing some cases you see parasite. And so patient was like, I want that out of my mouth. They also not only see the pathogen, they also see the activity, how fast they are, how much they really clump together and talk to each other. Like for example, in a lot of dementia and Alzheimer patient, we see spirochete actually clustering together and dance in the same pattern. It's crazy. And so basically on that slide, it gave the patient urgency because seeing is still believing, right? If they see that in the mouth and we say, okay, you have a high risk pathogens going on right now, please do not go home and share your saliva with your loved one. Then we have spouse calls and say, you told my spouse not to kiss me. I'm like, yes, because they have very highly contagious pathogens and that legally we have to inform you or let them know that they can spread that. But patients asking, I mean, we can't even keep up with the hygiene demand in our practice because everything personalized. So the new patient got to see that. They want to get in right away. Then the patient that get in and get those pathogens addressed, they want to maintaining it. They don't want to be gone for 6 months and then come back and start over. And then they understand the importance of their sleep, their nasal breathing, their nutrition, their hydration. And they know that if they don't keep up with it, the next time they come in, the slide gonna show them a very different story.
Maybe I'm living under a rock, but how common is it that dentists are showing patients their pathogens under a microscope? I think you're the first person I've heard talk about that.
Oh, I'm not the first because I learned it from another dentist that actually trained me. But what happened is I talked to all the hygienists, and that's how they would train in hygiene school.
Oh, interesting.
When they got out to a private practice or group practice, they said, Dr. Katie, no one have microscope. But that's how we would train in hygiene school to look at someone's saliva under microscope and see what pathogen, how active they are. But then in real life practice, nobody has it. And so to them, it's not introduce new thing. To them, it's actually go back to the basic. So they know their work is working because we have them take a slide before their treatment. And at the end of the treatment, the hygienist take another slide to show the patient, look, we did our job. You pay for this treatment. It works.
I mean, I want to go to you for my cleaning.
So we tell them now is your job to go home the next 30 days and continue maintaining this. So whatever that need to be work on your sleep, your nasal breathing, your nutrition, your hydration, this is now your turn, your job. And we actually give them a 30-day accountability chart that they need to check off. And when they come back in 30 days, we can see. And people know like, oh, I travel, I didn't do any. And then they come back in 30 days and they see the slide terrible. They're like, yep, that's me.
Yeah. I love that. It's so nice that you're sharing the responsibility because we as dentists are so afraid to do that. Something happens, we're like, oh, I'll just pay for it again. I'll just take care of it. It's my fault that something didn't happen. And I love that you're sharing it because let's be honest, when patients leave our practice, we have no control over what's going on. They're eating 1,000 meals a year. They're maybe brushing, maybe not, maybe flossing, maybe not, maybe having lemon in their water every time they drink, and have super high acid. Like you said, maybe they have acid reflux. I mean, there are so many crazy things. And I think up until now, it's been that the dentist is just so insane. Like if you got, your ankle worked on and your surgeon said, don't walk on this for 6 weeks, and you started walking it on day 2 and your foot got all gnarled, you wouldn't go back and say, oh, it's your fault. No, he'd be like, yeah, I walked on it. And the surgeon would be like, you walked on it. So you're paying for it again.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're doing that accountability chart. That is such a cool idea. Where did you get that idea?
Actually, I was training a lot of dentists, and they call me and they say, I do saliva testing too, Katie, but my patient doesn't have the result that you showing us. And I said, oh, do you keep them accountable? And they're like, yeah, we tell them what to do. And I said, no, do you really keep them accountable? Like, ask them to show you what they're doing at home. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, let's do a 30-day challenge. So even the patient that come in and pass the test, the slide looks amazing, the saliva test looks good, we gave them a 30-day challenge. The same sheet, the same card. And for the patient that not have a good result, we say, this is your homework. This is your 30 days homework. And you have to bring this back. And then for the people that do the challenge, we actually gave them prizes when they complete the challenge because, we adult also need positive
That's so fun.
reinforcement.
You're making dentistry fun.
Yes, and that's why we're very happy here, and people come here, they can tell that we enjoy and we love what we're doing, and we answering a calling and not a job. It's not a job.
What's going through my head is like that transition from being, in network with insurance and dealing with, that reality to transitioning to fee for service. I'm sure a lot of dentists are listening to this and they're like, I would love to do that. Like, you have more trust with your patients. Where do I get these microphones? Will you talk to us a little bit about what that transition looked like, how you increased your prices? Can we just make it a little bit more tactical for our listeners?
Yes, I can be very transparent because I do believe, number one, as a educator, you got to be transparent about your journey, what working and what
Yeah.
not working, who you're working with and who you're not working with. So for me, since it's really demanding a lot of learning, a lot of implementations in your office, and then integration. Because sometimes when you go learn something, you know about it, but your team don't. And then you go back, you try to integrate it. And that's a struggle because someday they do what you taught them and someday they don't. Then when you integrate it, mean they do it every single patient every time, then now you be like, oh wow, now I can see the return. So for me, that's taking a big part of our team and our practice is learning, integrating, implementing and integrating. So when we decide that we get out of network in 2018, by the end of 2018, we're getting out of network. Um, we prepare that we had to deliver value because I've seen a lot of dentists want to get a network, but they do the same thing someone down the street.
Right.
Nothing different. And so you expect
Yep.
patients to pay more. You don't have better customer service. You don't have better chest-eye manner. You don't have better, knowledge. And so you got to really understand how to deliver that, how to get that, and got your team to implement it, integrate it. And so once we build the value, we're like, yes, if we go out network, people are going to stay with us. The people that are not staying with us, they can go out and try, and then we'll come back. And that's true. We end up having patients coming back
Same.
and get on the wait list because now they come back and they're not getting like as a existing patients anymore.
Right.
When we're looking at my availability, because when we're setting the price for procedure, most of dentists setting it based on zip code. Oh, someone charging $900 for a crown, I'll charge 900. I'm actually looking at I'm only available to work 21 hours a week seeing patient because the other 19 hours I'm on the phone with doctors, I'm learning, I'm teaching my team, then I'm networking. So it's still working on your business, but not inside your business. You still have to get paid for those. You still have to make money to invest in yourself and your team and on all the expensive toy you have in your practice, right? CBCT, Mott Jaw, Trios, right? All that.
Yeah.
So when I decide that, okay, I'm going to work 21 hours a week and I need to cover my overhead, my team, we give our team 40 hours even though we see, patients 21 clinical hours, they still here before that. After that, they learn, they follow up. And I know exactly what my overhead is, and I know how much I want to bring home, and that's how I set my price.
And it goes to show how you need to know your numbers.
Yes.
Because I bet you ask 90% of dentists, what percentage is your overhead? They have no idea. Or what is your cost per hour per chair in your practice? They have no idea what's happening. So just knowing your numbers. Now, Katie, tell us about the area that you're in because I know a lot of people that are listening to this that don't really have this growth mindset are thinking, well, she must be in like Beverly Hills or something because this is just, only rich people want this. Nobody in my town wants comprehensive dentistry where you're doing, medical dental integration. I mean, are you just in like the richest place in the US? Tell me more.
I'm in a town called Katy, Texas. Yes, so Dr. Katy from Katy.
What a great name.
The richest area in Houston, so we're in suburb, west side of Houston. It is, I would say a suburb, so the household income and the community is pretty average. We have good school district, but we're not the richest, city or area in the greater Houston area. I have patients that
And
driving
you're
an
not even in a big city, right? You're in a suburb of a
hour.
city. And that's what I wanted to get across is that you can be in anywhere in the world. I know people that are in the middle of Kansas that have super high-end, out of network, doing DSD full arch cases, all on X, people paying cash. And then I have people that are in big cities with very wealthy people that say, no, I could never go out of network. It doesn't work. All my patients have insurance and they want to use that and they would leave. So
Yeah.
tell me about like your mindset on that.
Yes. So number one is your belief, because if you believe that you can go out of network, then you're right. You can go out of network. If you believe that you can go out of network, you're right. You will go out of network. And I know it's scary because people always thinking when they go out of network, they will lose patient and they will lose money. But again, if you prepare and knowing exactly, the clarity is my number one. I want to practice this way. I want to work this many hours, right? I want to have a team that also follow my philosophy. And so when you have the clarity, you also attracting the like-minded people and let go of the people that not have the like mindset. Set them
Yeah.
free. Let them go somewhere else that they're
I
happy.
I like what you said. You know, people think that you will lose patients if you go out of network, and I'll tell you, you will, but you'll lose the wrong patients, right? Which is great. It's exactly what you were saying at the beginning. You have to know which patients are right for your practice. And for me, early in my career, I had a high-end out-of-network practice, and I just thought everybody that came in the door, I should be able to treat and I should be able to help. And it's not true. Not every patient is right for your practice, just like not every customer is right for every other business. You know, like I always say, like, you can buy a Ferrari or you could get a Toyota Corolla, right? And there's people that want both or don't want the other ones. But, and again, there's people that can't afford a Ferrari, right? I'd love to have a Ferrari, not a new one, an old one. I'd love to have like an F40 from the 90s, but they're $2 million. I can't afford that, right? So I'm not a customer for an F40. So it's like I'm not right for that business, you know? And I think that's what dentists struggle with is we think every patient that walks through the door, we should have to treat. And I
Mhm.
believe that it comes from a good place. I believe that it comes from us wanting to help everybody and
Mhm.
wanting to get them out of pain, make their aesthetics better, make their function better. But it's such when I made that mindset shift, okay, every patient that comes in for an exam, I don't have to treat. It was so freeing. And what happened was my practice grew. It wasn't that my practice went down when I dismissed patients or when I didn't take patients. My practice grew.
You said 2 things that I think are so important to just your success, which is and I want our listeners to hear it again, which is that you focus on giving a lot of value when you went on that network. So you're not just staying exactly complacent, giving value was a core part of it. And the problem nowadays is patients are like, who's the nearest dentist and who has 5-star reviews? And you're like, I'm going to give more value than the average dentist. I'm going to go above and beyond. And so, of course, patients see that. They see that that's unique about you, and they're going to get started with treatment. Not only are they going to come to you, you're also going to have a high case acceptance. You also said something really important that we haven't heard a lot of guests say, which is the value of your time. People don't value their time enough, in my opinion. You know, like lawyers, they charge us by the millisecond, right? Why aren't we charging based on our time? But you value it.
Like I was saying that a lot of dentists we met have money mindset problem. You know, they feel guilty when they charge you and they want to give discount or they feel like if the patient doesn't accept treatment, I will have a hard time paying my bill. Whatever that mindset is stay with them no matter they first 10 years of the career or the next 10, 20 years. I met dentists practicing for 35 years still have money mindset problem. He still
Yeah.
discount right, and his team was like, I can get him to stay away from treatment planning because he tried to go in there and make him feel better by bring the price down on the patient. And so any dentist out there listening to this podcast, if you have money mindset problem, you have to at least acknowledge it, not in the public, not on social media, but acknowledge it and then just get a piece of paper out and write down 50 things why you need to charge more. And I'm guarantee you by number like 10 or 20, you'd be like, I am charging more. Because
I'd like to share how my mindset changed on this. And it came from one of my coaches who's not in dentistry. And he basically said two things. One is think of someone that made an offer to you that you bought and maybe you spent a lot of money on and you got incredible value from. And when I think of one, it's actually this coach that I'm talking about. It was very expensive, tens of thousands of dollars. And I had never spent that much money on anything except for a car and a house. And I got incredible value out of that. Now, think if he didn't make that offer to me. I would have lost out on so much knowledge and I made a lot of money on this. And that was just him making an offer. I didn't have to accept it. He just made an offer. And so think of and that's the other thing that I learned from him too, is thinking about you are simply making an offer and people putting money towards it is them paying for a specific result. They are going to pay for a specific result. It's like you want to get in shape, You're going to pay the gym, maybe you're going to pay a nutritionist, or maybe you're going to pay a trainer or whatever. You're going to put money. And we know that when we put money into things, we're more likely to commit to it.
That's
So
right.
the money is the commitment that they're putting towards a desired result. So in dentistry, that desired result can be aesthetics, function, health, and, any of those. And I think that's how we need to think about it. And once we make that change, it's funny how when you do a treatment presentation for a patient and they go, I don't know if I really want to do it, you're like, cool, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that with or without you attitude actually draws in more patients. It's when you're like, no, I really need you to do this. And, oh, you can't afford that. Okay, let me take 50% off. And I know I told you it's going to take 6 months. You want to do it in 3? Okay, cool. We'll do it in 3. Whatever you say. That is so unattractive. That with or without you attitude is what gets people to commit. And I'm not saying it from a money standpoint, right? Money is the result of doing good work and good business. Now, we know that there's doctors that are shitheads and, do treatment on patients that they don't need it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if someone comes in and they have periodontal disease, they have caries, they have functional problems, and you're going to do, months of perio treatment, and you're going to adjust their bite right. You're going to maybe do some aesthetic work to get their smile right. I mean, you should get paid for that. Just like any other business, we can't feel guilty for charging for our specialty. Like you said, Katie, like we are specialists of the
Mm-hmm.
mouth.
Yes.
I think that it's such an important topic to talk about because, I think that we're being in healthcare, we have this adversity to money. It's like, I'm a healthcare provider, so, we're the opposite of business. And I think, Kyle, similar to you, I had a similar, mindset where I was like, I want to give it away for as much as possible, but I can't, right? I can't unless I'm sacrificing myself. And I think that's something that we just need to, you know, going back to like let them, we don't need to, but if we want to be fulfilled, we have to accept that our services cost money and charge what we're worth. And I really like what you said about your formula, Katie, that you figured out how much you need to make, how many hours you work, and therefore how much you're going to charge per hour. That makes sense. No one questions lawyers, right? Why would they question their dentist if that's how we charge for our value?
And Ingrid, this is something that I do, and I learned this from a prosthodontist because I did a lot of implant cases when I was practicing more. So you guys all know this case, and everybody who is listening knows this case. Patient, maybe not you, Ingrid, because you were doing ortho, but a patient comes in and they have an implant on a lower first molar that is fractured or something, like the crown is fractured. They need a new implant crown. And you take an x-ray and you go, I don't know what implant that is, right? And you talk to them, like, when was this placed? So like, I think it was 91 or 92. Okay, where was it? It was in Bulgaria, a very small village there. Okay, are they still there? No, the doctor died like 20 years ago. I have no idea what this is. And you're going, okay, how do I find this out? Well, now there's AI tools, but before that, there were, you put it on a Facebook group, you call your lab, you call your friends, you find out what this is. Oh, it's some random French company. Okay, well, now I need to get that impression coping for this implant. So I'm going to call this French company. Oh, they're only in time zone of France. Okay, and it's only in French that you can do it. Okay, so you find some random, your assistant's brother went to school in France for a summer. So then he calls and he's finding this out. And then you get it and it's the wrong one. You're sending it back. All of that time you need to charge for. And so what I tell patients, again, I learned this from a prosthodontist named Harel Simon, is you say, listen, this may take some time. How I charge for this is by the hour or by the every 15 minutes or whatever. It may be very fast. I find it out real quick, but it may not be. It's like removing a broken screw on an implant. Removing a broken screw can take all of 5 minutes or 5 hours, literally. And I've done both. And you can't charge one fee. You have to charge by the hour on that.
Which requires us to be incredibly good communicators.
So true. Yeah, Katie, maybe you can expand on that because for you to do something so different in dentistry, how have you had to improve your communication to talk to patients and have them really see the value in this?
I would say that probably the most important factor in being successful dentist is communication in a way that you still yourself, but deliver the message with confidence and then walk away knowing no matter what patient decide, you did your job. And then so patient doesn't feel that you're attached to it. You don't want it more than they do. And now it's up to them to decide.
Yes.
So I actually learned communication skill outside dentistry. So there's in dentistry, there's a lot of CE and they're teaching you how to present treatments, how to, you know, get patient to say yes, but they don't really teaching you how to truly communicate with patient, not just verbally, but also body language, right? Also, do you understand their primary language? Is it something like knowing the outcome? We actually highlight and circle what is the patient why. So every time we talk about it, we bring it up because we want to make sure that we stay on the same goal with them from the start to the end, versus kind of get really um, wrap up in the clinical finding. Oh my gosh, you have this, you have to do this. Well, always go back to their why, and then they see it, that the reason they want to get something done. So I think communication is something that you got to record yourself, like listen to yourself talking because you will be like, oh, I said that, right? And so in the beginning, we have team member um, outside the office listening. I have treatment corner inside the office listening. And so later on, I start realize my team sound all like me because they listen to me so much. They start talking like me, how they give post-op instructions, how they talk to patient about today visit. And so not only you become a great communicator for your patient, for your success, but for your team to really model after you with their own flavor, obviously, their own personality, their own role in the practice, but they listen to you, and that's, you know, role model is what my leadership style. You had to walk the talk. Like a lot of doctor was just looking for a good treatment coordinator, but I'm like, you should be the one that get the patient understand what they need, and that person come in and just make it fit into their life, that make sure the financials make sense. But the patient had to be completely comfortable with you and understand why they here and what treatment they need before that person come in, not to sell the treatment, just to make sure that treatment investment fit into their life. And so, yes, I think communication is really a key to how someone can be a successful dentist and be a happy dentist because patient not going to blame you because you already share everything and now the decision is theirs.
Well, most of the stress doesn't come from clinical dentistry, and I've done
Mhm,
polls on this, and you know, if you look at the research too, most of the stress comes from lack of communication or
mhm.
poor communication with team members, with patients, with your home life. And so learning these communication skills cannot be overemphasized. It's a
Mhm,
lot of what I do too in my courses is teach people how to talk with patients, how to set expectations, how to set boundaries, how to
mhm.
communicate. It was funny what you were saying how your team starts to talk like you. I noticed that when I was an oral surgery assistant many, many years ago when I was in college, and I was, you know, with oral surgery, the doctor that I was working with, he did a lot of the same things. So it was like wisdom teeth, implants, extractions, right? Um, and so the wisdom teeth conversation about the lower lip and the nerve, he had like a script that he said, and I listened to it all the time. And it's funny how when I went to dental school, that was the script that I said. You know, you'll see this small little line here that this innervates your lower lip and chin. Sometimes when we're taking that tooth out, this can get touched or can get inflamed. You can have some temporary or permanent numbness in your lower lip and chin. And it turned into this script. And it's such a great example of if you are a good um, communicator, you can create good communicators. And if you're a bad communicator, you can create bad communicators in your team.
So true.
What kind of trainings did you do? I mean, what kind of communication trainings did you do?
So interesting enough that the first training I had done is media training. because got a lot of interview and podcasts. I'm like, oh, I really need to be, good at answering questions on the podcast or live or in
Yes.
person. So media training is really help. You can find someone locally outside dentistry. Obviously, I highly recommend seeking the training outside dentistry. Um, then that will be one of the very first thing I did is media training. And then there are so many good trainer out there courses like your course, Kyle. People talk about how you teach people to talk to patients and then team with modeling that. Um, in dentistry, Paul Hamoli also is really good.
Yeah.
Which
I've taken Paul's courses too.
yeah. So new dentist or new grad, I'm always say start with those, and then just really put yourself out there more. Like I committed to do, Facebook Live every week just so I can be comfortable talking and just put in the reps. Because sometimes you go learn the training and then you go back and you don't use it. And then you're not really good at it because just like
It's
if you press
so
a 1,000
true.
now versus you
Yeah.
press, your first 10. So put in the rep, get opportunity to be out there. And now with social, it's so easy. You can go live anytime, maybe
Yeah.
one people listen to it. But patient actually seeking and looking for those before they come in to see you. And then what they see on the social and what they see on the screen, the same person they see is already established the trust. They feel like they know you already.
That's right. It's funny
Mhm.
when you're talking about doing reps and stuff. A few years ago, Ingrid came to me and said, Kyle, I really want to get better at speaking and I really want to be better on camera. And I gave her a lot of tips. And it's been so fun seeing her. I mean, now, she's like the host of the podcast and like she's doing all these reels and TikTok and all this stuff. And it's reps, right? And this is so funny.
It's
Like
reps.
with dentists, we need to remember that a skill is a skill. So prepping a crown is a skill, right? Our first one we did was fucking horrible. It was terrible. It took forever. The margins were all off. It was all bumpy, right? But we did 100 of them and it got a lot better. And that's just how knowing your business is. That's just how communication is. That's just how treatment planning is. That's just how running a business is. That's just how leadership is. That's just how mental health is, right?
Mhm.
Everything is a skill. Skills aren't only done with our hands. Skills can be things that are between our ears or that come out of our mouth too. So I'm
Mhm.
so
It's
glad that you said
discipline.
that.
It's discipline, and Katie, it's so funny that you brought up, like, the whole recording yourself thing because that's something that Kyle brought up to me a couple years ago, and, like, I cringe, and I don't do it enough because every time I'm like, "Oh god, here we go again." But that now, if I were to tell, like, a young dentist who's just graduating, I would say, "Run, don't walk," to recording yourself every single day and present treatment to the camera and see how you present it to see would you buy from this person? Would you trust this person? Because sometimes there's these little things that, like, you just look funny. I know I do. Where you just have to know and have
You look funny, you
awareness
hold your
to
mouth weird, you say a lot, you
that's
don't
me.
make good eye contact. And I remember when I was first recording myself, so Ingrid knows this, but Katie, so for me, when I started getting very serious about being a speaker, which was, I don't know, 13 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have like a 90-minute evening lecture that I'm giving for a study club. And I would practice that 2 to 3 times. Okay. So I would put 3 to 4 hours of practicing in order to do a 90-minute lecture. And I would videotape it. And usually my dog would be sitting there. So I'd just be like lecturing to my dog at the time. And I remember going back and being like, gosh, I wasn't looking at the audience the whole time. I was just looking at my screen. Or, when I held my hand out like this, that looked really weird. But when I did this other way, that looked kind of nice. So I'm going to do it more like that. Or when I was talking about this one case, I really didn't tell the story much. And so it didn't come off right. And that is how treatment planning is. That's how leadership is. That's how, reviews with your teams can be. That's how morning huddles can be. All of that is a skill. And so I'm so glad that because now you're out here teaching a bunch of dentists, you've got a lot of young doctors too. You're telling these young doctors that this is a skill to learn early. Because what most doctors do is they get out of school and they say, I need to learn implants, I need to learn smile design, I need to learn whatever, biomimetic dentistry, I need to learn all this clinical stuff, which is, it's true. You need to get better clinically, but you
Mhm.
can't put 100% of your effort into clinical dentistry. or you
Mhm.
will not have the sustainable growth that all of us wanted to have as young doctors.
Yeah, so true.
So, Katie, tell us, where can people learn from you? I know that you teach a lot, you have your own community. Tell us about that if people want to learn what you're doing and apply this to their own practice.
Yes. So we have Wellness Dentist Institute. That's a community of dentists that interested in learning and implement the medical dental integrations into their practice. And the interesting thing is start with your exam. It start with the conversation you have with your hygiene check. So it doesn't mean you have to buy expensive machines and tools. So you can start right away implementing that, and patient will look at you like, "Wow, I really have a dentist that understand what I'm going through and actually interested in knowing more about me." Because most of the doctor visit is so short, they don't even ask the patient, and over here asking about their sleep, asking about their nasal breathing, asking about their bowel movement, right? Because it's important for all the detoxification. So you can start right away in your practice, checking out Wellness Dentist Institute, where we're having our master class. We have a really fun event once a year. We have Wellness Dentist Summit. We bring medical doctors and medical dental community together and helping you planning the year. So this is going to be our third year doing the summit. Every year we're having more and more people join because they bring the team also. Because the team, when you transition in this, they feel like, why my doctor doing this way? I don't know any other dentist I work for doing what he or she's doing. So when they go to this event, they start seeing other team members. They start seeing that they are not the only team aware or doing wellness. But I can tell you, one of my biggest impact is I seeing my team getting healthier. My team getting healthier, like my family, obviously, right? But my team, they start making the decision on their own of eliminate sugars, of, cutting down on their coffee, working out before going to the office, and they talking to each other. They bring lunch to work instead of, ordering and Uber Eat. And so you are really create that ripple effect. And when you walk the talk and the team walk the talk, the patients start trusting you too. So you can talk about all the wellness thing you're doing, but if they look at you and they said, you're not really happy or you're not really healthy, then you can preach all you want. People are not going to trust you and not going to buy from you. So you got to walk the talk. Your team's going to follow. And I can't imagine practicing dentistry any other way, because we actually get up and looking forward to go to work.
Which is not the case for most dentists, I'll tell you. Most dentists get up and say, "Oh my God, I've got to do this DO on that second molar, and that patient, she sucks and she never wants to pay." And yeah, so that's such a revelation for people to hear. And I wanted to tell you that I saw the same thing happen in my practice when I was an example of taking care of myself. So when me and my partner Matt Najad started eating right, bringing our own food, going to the gym, working on our wellness, we never told our staff, "You guys need to do this."
Mhm.
And that's what they started to do. They started to be like, "Oh, what are you doing for your meal preparations? And what are you doing at the gym?" And this and that. And all of a sudden, our team got healthier. And from a like selfish standpoint, everyone listening should know, when your team's healthier, they work better. And when they work
Mhm.
better, everybody makes more money. So it's so funny that you saw the same thing happen.
Yeah, and we have a lot less turnover. We do have a very competitive. I think some dentists kind of like that too competitive for working for you, because we do eliminate the weakest link in our practice annually. So we evaluate the team, and if they're not growing, and if the reason that all the team had to work harder, we had to really help focus on training them. But if they're not the good fit for the team, then there's other people want to be on the team. So it's not like survivor game in our practice, but we do evaluate our team members. How can we get this person to improve their skill, right? Their mindset and the communications, all that. Are they happy here? We actually we have quarterly sit down with our team members. And one of the questions that we ask is, are you happy here? Because if they're not happy, then we need to figure out, is it because this is not the right place or because something else needs to change? So for us, the turnover is not a problem, because people actually love to come here and work. They figure that this is the environment they want to be in. They also take ownership of their growth. We don't pay people for learning. They learn on their own. And when they achieve, say, their certificate or the next level, the skill set, and that's where the raise come from. The raise doesn't come from you staying with me for 10 years and I had to give you 10, years of raise.
Right.
So I know dentists struggling with teams and they think if I'm taking the CE, if I'm hiring this consultant, it is coming from the inside the practice. And they all watching the leader, which is you. And then you create that culture by doing daily activity that reinforce that culture, that create a culture. So one of the things I talk about wellness industry is that when people find that wellness place to work, they can work anywhere else. They can work anywhere else that having the same philosophy, the same equipment, the same protocol, because now we know, oh my God, that's so toxic. I can't do that. Or that environment is toxic because it's drama, right? They start realizing and then seeing. And so if you have team issues, then you have to look into how to improving that by changing your environment, setting your culture, and implementing wellness in your life.
Such a great example. Ingrid, any final questions for Katie?
I think I'm good on my end. You answered so many of my questions. I just want to come and shadow your practice one day.
Yes, we actually and Carl, you have to come to Houston. Come on,
I
like I know
do.
you're all over the country. In about 4 months, we're moving into a brand new space.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
so we in the kind of final few months of constructions where we actually build this wellness space with like the garden where we're gonna do yoga. And then
Wow, amazing.
um, yes, and then we're having the gathering space for teaching. We actually have vision to teach also to our patient, holding seminars and invite
Yeah.
speaker, training patient on nutrition and things that they don't know, empowering them, right? So we have this wellness philosophy that we want to not just to keep in our practice, but share with our community, and especially with dentists that want to learn and implement this in their practice.
Super smart. Okay, so Katie, where can people find you? Tell us what social media you're on, or if they want to take courses from you, how can they find you?
Yes, the easiest ways is Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Katie Toe and Wellness Dentist Institute. And I'll be happy to answer any question you have after listening to the podcast. And thank you so much, Ingrid and Kyle, for having me on the Happy Dentist podcast.